name is Samiksha, and I'm going to talk to you about, obviously, sales and marketing and understanding metrics. From revenue to lead generation, and knowing what to measure and how to build your go-to-market strategy. So I've been doing this for about 15 years. I've been in the operation role for about 15 years. I've specialized in technology industry. I've worked for about 3 different startups, all in different various stages of growth. So the first thing I want to do is ask just the crowd, is anyone here an entrepreneur that has like a sales team, what they would consider 10 or more people in sales or some sales team? Like one salesperson? Are they also the salesperson and the entrepreneur at the beginning? Okay, so it's just a good sense for me. So when I talk about this, I know what to talk about the audience. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with the stats. So if you're an entrepreneur, most of you have seen this before, that overall, at the end of the day, about 51% of companies actually survive past the 5-year term. It's kind of gloomy and it's not the most positive reinforcement for you to go into business. But based on these stats, I want to review some of the essential operational metrics for your first 3 to 5 years to ensure your focus is on track and you're spending time focusing on what's important, so you're not burning cash and burning resources. So these are high-level operational metrics that are tied into sales, marketing, and customer success. Just one thing to note, I would not be talking about financial metrics. I'm not going to talk about cash flow and profits and MRR and ARR. And most of the metrics I'm covering are focused on SaaS-based software companies, but the other different products and services could also use these metrics. So what do you do when you're first starting out, when you want to build a sales team or building a marketing team? Well, you start with a plan. Before you hire a sales team, you want to figure out what you want to be when you grow up. The best you can, because obviously you won't know. But give it about a 5-year window. And why is this important to do before you start hiring on a sales team? Because once you start getting feet on the street, as they call it, you are going to open up the floodgates on suggestions, modifications, and feature requests. You're going to have so much feedback on your product that you need to have a strong sense of what your product offers and make sure it's communicated to everyone clearly and often. So the first thing you want to do is identify what type of customers are important to you. Use broad definitions at first. You don't need to have it exact, but just identify what industry are they in, what's the employee size, or what personas are you going after. So some of you may know, personas are a certain type of personality that your product is catered to. So I used to work for a BI company, and we had a couple different products, and we had different personas for those products. So we had one product that we catered to the executive persona, which is they would be the ones who consumed the reports and read the dashboard reports. And then we would have an administrative persona, and they would be the ones actually creating the reports and consuming the data to make sure it made sense for the executive level. Now, when I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, they talk about everything they're going to do and how one day they're going to sell this company and they're going to make millions and millions of dollars, and they're going to be left with the dilemma of what island do they buy and where do they live, and what do they do for the next 40, 50 years of their life. What I would suggest at first is to not worry about your exit strategy. First, focus on your customer strategy. Focus on who your customers are, and what the pain points are that they face. Not just the pain points that your product resolves, but what are they doing 2 minutes before using your product and 2 minutes after using your product. This holistic view helps you determine who to partner with and promotes the stickiness to your customer. And I'll talk a bit more about this later on. So when does sales matter? Well, things start getting serious when you start hiring sales. Now, I would hire a senior sales leader and think probably well before you think you need sales, because it takes about 3 to 6 months to ramp up on the time. Hire someone with experience that can help mold the messaging and create a sales cycle for you. They shouldn't have a quota per se, but they are responsible for talking to current customers and prospects and ensuring that the messaging is resonating. If the messaging is not resonating with your customer base, rinse, wash, repeat, just keep getting it done, because this is critical before you move on to the next stage. So once you're comfortable that your message is resonating with your customer base, then you start to hire out. Let the sales leader hire the folks that she knows embodies the culture that you're trying to build. Then while you have that sales team building, you also want to build a go-to-market sales and marketing plan. And you want to focus on some key customers, because you can't go after everybody. You just don't have the resources. So figure out which customers you want to go after first. And at the same time, you want to build like an internal focus group, which brings in the feedback from your customer-facing team. So you want to have a group that incorporates people from support, marketing, and sales, so they can give you feedback so far on what's going on when they talk to customers. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. It could just be a bi-weekly meeting where you have everybody in the same room and they talk about feedback and they share what customers have provided. Once you get to this phase, what I call like the first year of the go-to-market strategy, the key metrics that you want to look at is number of website visits, the customer journey on your website. So what pages are they flowing through? What pages are they falling off on? Like if they flow through and they spend a good couple of minutes on your site, then they get to the price and they fall off, that's probably an indication that something's not going right there. The lead score. So for those of you who don't know, first of all, a lead is somebody who's expressed an interest in your product. It is somebody who has enough interest that they've gone onto your website and they want to learn a bit more. So lead scoring is really important because what it does is it tells you the best you can, because you don't know who the person is who's on your site, but it gives you a sense of how interested they are in your product. In your product, because they're on your site, and if they start going to the pricing page or the product feature page, it shows that they're interested, so they have a high lead score. If they're floating around on your site and they go to the career page or the investor page, most likely they're not that really interested in your product, they're interested in finding a job, so they have a lower lead score. The other thing is lead capture form. When you want to sign somebody up for a webinar, a demo, or a trial, you want to make sure you're capturing the first name, their last name, and any type of information that you found to be interesting for your product, which is either what I mentioned earlier, industry, customer size, whatever it is that you determine as the key things that you want to know. So you're moving along now and things are getting serious, and before you get to this point, you're going to capture all this data. But at this point, you won't have a baseline. You won't know what to measure it against. And it doesn't really matter. All you want to do is just be able to track it. Just be able to know what your starting point is, because this will be your baseline for future. If you can, try and automate it. And I know it's the early days, and you don't really want to spend money on a CRM and automation. So you need to do it manually. But as soon as you can, try and automate it, because it saves you the time and effort of just putting together spreadsheets. So you're doing this for a while, and it's moving along, and you start to grow your sales and marketing team out. You start to develop a predictable sales cycle, and you start to automate some of your metrics. So the next stage to metrics is what you call the early growth years. So on the marketing side, you want to be able to talk about lead conversion rates. So what this is really simple. It's the number of leads that come through your website that's been captured by your marketing automation software and converted to a sale. MQL, so marketing qualified leads. It pretty much defines the minimum criteria of information that marketing needs to capture before they move it on to sales. So I mentioned earlier the lead capture form. They may want your phone number, your first name, your last name, your email address, just the minimum amount of information that marketing says, I've qualified this lead enough, now I pass it on to sales to do their job. Obviously, the number of leads is important. The customer industry and the size. Now, you also want to, at one point, compare this. So if sales is coming to you and saying, you're telling me all these customers are from the medical healthcare industry, but when I talk to them, they're from the caretaker industry. You need to be able to wash through your data and make sure that you're at the very beginning, that you're capturing the right accurate data. And then lead source. Where is this coming from? Is it from an event? Is it from a partner? Is it from like a Startup Unleashed event? Like, you want to be able to track how successful your events are. And then user engagement too. So the company I used to work for was a POS software company, and they would ask people to download and do a trial. So one of the things that we use on the marketing side to measure their engagement was how often they're logging into the trial. How many kind of demos are they doing on the trial size? Have they been doing sales and refunds? So this gives you an indication of how likely they are to purchase from you because they've engaged in the product. And then for the early growth years going into sales, you want to define a sales stage. It doesn't need to be fancy. It could be 4 steps, it could be 14 steps, it doesn't really matter. But what matters, the key point is you need to have an action item at the end of each one of these sales stages. You don't want to have just a definition without being a definable, predictable action that says to somebody, okay, you've done this, and now you can move on to the next sales stage. The other thing is pipeline by stage and milestone movement. So you want to be able to take a look at all the opportunities you have and see how it's moving along. So let's just say you have a sales stage that is value proposition, and you have 40% of your opportunities stuck at value proposition. that tells me that you have a problem on your sales team with somebody articulating the value to your customer. They're either having a tough time telling the customer why they should purchase your product, or the customer's just not understanding your value prop. So these are the things you want to look at. And also milestone movement, like how long does it take to get from one point to the second point? And there are things that you could do either on the marketing side or the sales training side to help push that along. The number of non-contacted. So these are the number of leads that come in through marketing to sales that have not been contacted. Going back to what I was talking about with the lead scores, these are hot leads. They should never be non-contacted. You're pretty much saying, I know you're interested in my product, but I'm not really interested in calling you right away. The hot leads are the ones you should always be contacting. If you have a group of leads that are kind of warm, or they, the salesperson's trying to contact them, but they haven't been able to get a hold of them, then put them maybe back into a marketing nurturing program and try and get them. Want to know if you're planning something out. And some sales cycles can take a month, some of them can take 18 months. So you want to know as you're planning it out and you're putting together marketing campaigns that you're investing money today that you may not see for a year and a half. So the other set of metrics is what I call operational, executive type metrics. They're just ones that encompass different departments, and the ones that at a company level should be known by everyone. So what's your customer base look like? So take a look at the customer base and do it by industry, and then match that against who your key customers are. If the industry that you're going after doesn't really match your current customer base, you have a bit of a marketing problem. You want to make sure that at least represents the majority of the industry that you're going after. Does it match the personas? Like the titles that you have as your key customers, do they match the titles that you want to be going after? And who are your top customers? Everyone in the company should know who your top customers are, because they are your top customers and they'll be phoning in, and you want to be highly sensitive to what it is that they want and they're asking from you. How often they're using the product and how. The website conversion, lead conversion, sales versus targets. Now, at this point, you may not have quotas for everybody in sales, but you should have some sales targets. Your VCs are going to want to know your sales targets and how you're attaining it. Your board of directors and your employees want to know how you're doing against targets. So you should have a very good sense of where you are. If the target's too low, take a look at it if you know we're close to attaining it. And even if the target's, if you've over-attained it, maybe you should just increase the bench a little bit, because getting 120% of a really low number isn't as great as getting 80% of a really great higher number. And open headcount and time to hire. Always be on top of this, because as you grow, people are going to come to you for headcount requests. People are going to come to you and they're always going to want more staff and more people for help. Have a sense of how long it takes you to hire someone. If you're going to roll out a big initiative that requires more resources in 6 months and it takes you 8 months to hire someone, you have a bit of a problem on your hands. So be cognizant of how long it takes you. And then churn. So I'm going to talk a little bit about churn. I call it the cockroach theory, and I absolutely hate cockroaches, but I remember seeing one time. And someone mentioned to me, which they shouldn't have, is that for every one cockroach you see, there's actually about 19 that you can't see, which did not make me feel any better. But that to me is how I consider churn. If you have one customer that churns away, chances are you have 19 more that may do it and are thinking about doing it. Don't just take one customer churning away as a one-off situation. What you want to be able to do is get in front of it and be able to proactively talk to these customers. You want to measure, especially for your top customers, on a daily basis, the number of support calls. If they're calling in a lot to support, they got some problems. Reduction of usage. If they just stop using the product, if you have in-app product usage information and you see it dropping off, that's not a good sign. And then last is too many feature requests. If they're happy, but they keep calling you and saying, it'd be really great if your product did this, it'd be really great if you can add this, that's chances are they're looking for something more from what it is that you're delivering. So moving on now to the rapid growth phase. You're doing everything great, you're growing, things are getting super busy. This is the stage where a lot of companies think they're doing really awesome, but in fact they can be causing themselves huge problems. Because what they start doing is they start measuring activity versus results. So you're making calls and you're talking to people, you're going out and talking to partners and you're signing them all up. It's great activity, but no one's actually measuring the results. So you actually end up getting a really busy team that's done nothing for maybe a year or 2 years. And I say this because I've gone through it with a startup. I've gone through it, and it's very shocking at the end of the period where you realize that you've gotten nowhere close to hitting your revenue targets, but everyone's been super busy working on something. So at this point, you want to track, you want to be able to produce what I call a product marketing team. It doesn't need to be a team, but you want to start with just laying the foundation for best practices. So when you have a new product that you want to release, or you have new features, you want to have some type of standard template to train your customer-facing staff. We've all been there where we call into someone, like let's just pick on the telecos, and they have a new promotion going on. So you call in and you ask them about information, a bit more about this special promotion that's on, and they have no clue what you're talking about. You're pretty much telling them the information that you heard. That's a sign of really bad product marketing. That's a sign of bad internal training. It doesn't need to be fancy, like everything else. It just needs to be pretty simple and straightforward. What you want to be able to do is have a standard template that discusses the who. So who's this going after? What customer base is this for? What does it do? What's so neat about it? And why? Why would anyone care about this new feature, new product? Get that succinct and make sure everybody who's in the customer-facing role understands that. Once that's done, going back again and evaluating your MQLs and then your SQLs, which are sales qualified leads. If these need to be revised, take a look at the new product, take a look at the new feature, and see if they need to be revised. Partner leads. This is the time you start partnering with third-party companies. I worked at the POS company that I worked at. We did analysis and we said, 2 seconds after someone uses our POS software, they do a payments. They process the payment. So we should actually be partnering with PayPal because PayPal does payments. So we partner with them and we put together some collateral for them to go out and get leads on our behalf because they're also talking to customers who are looking for a POS payment. So it's measuring what kind of leads are you getting from your partners. If you're not getting good leads from them, chances are they don't really quite know what your value prop is and you need to go back to them and train their staff more. And then close rate per campaigns and list. Marketing spends a lot of money. Sometimes like it's $1 a name. A lot of money to get lists, to contact people. If you're not getting any closed deals from this, go back and take a look because you want to be able to track the ROI and spending that money. Because again, when you're starting up, you don't have a lot of cash to burn. And then on the sales side, opportunity value. So if your product's selling for $100,000 and your average opportunity value is $60,000, you have a discounting problem, you have a product pricing problem, or you have a sales rep that doesn't know how to articulate the value of your product. So take a look and make sure that what your average selling price is somewhere close to what your MSRP is. Forecast accuracy. At one point, you want to be able to tell with some good confidence, with great confidence, what your monthly number is going to be, your quarterly number, your annual number. You're going to want to know this, again, your VCs, your bank, the board of directors will want to have some kind of confidence that on a monthly basis you'll be able to provide, be able to predict what your number is going to be. Forecast accuracy is huge, and that ties in with quarter attainment. Now you have to start tracking sales reps. And this goes back to what I mentioned, activity versus results. If your sales team's coming to you and saying, I made 50 calls today, that's great, they're doing all these demos, but at the end of the month they've gotten nowhere close to the quota, that's not good enough. So they're doing something that needs to be revised. Seasonality. So your products, like most products, maybe have a seasonality. So maybe you sell more in the springtime or in the summertime. So just be aware when the seasonality is not just for your product, but also for the industry. So if you're in retail management and you're in retail sales, you're not going to launch a new campaign during the week of NRF in January because no one's going to be around and it's just going to end up being unsuccessful. So be aware of what's going on in your industry. The lost opportunity and the reason. This is huge, and most people do not capture this. But you want to know, as the customer is going through the sales cycle and they drop off, you want to be able to capture, why? Why did they leave you? Is it the feature? Was it a competition? Was it the price? You want to be able to ask those questions because even though you lost the customer, they may not be lost forever if you know what it is that made them turn away. And then, of course, it's sales. So book business is important metric to track. And then operational and executive metrics. Again, building on what you already started tracking to begin with. So increase in headcount, net new headcount again. People are going to keep coming to you and asking you. Really scrutinize whether you need a headcount or whether you need automation. Sometimes a headcount's a good thing, but sometimes it's a Band-Aid. And the more lipstick, we call it more lipstick on the pig, at the end of the day, you still have a product that's not, you can't just keep hiring people to take care of the product. At one point, you need to automate. So if you have 1 or 2 people that are doing data entry, at one point you need to turn around and see how much money am I spending on headcounts to enter data versus just buying an automated system. It's never easy to just come in, install software, and then you're good to go. It does take a bit of amount of time, but in the long run, it always pays off than just hiring people to fix the problem. And then the churn due to competition. Again, you can have current customers, you want to know, be able to reach out to them and find out why it is they left you. Did they leave to go to a competitor? And what was it specifically about that competitor that made them turn away from you? Keep in mind too, you're going to have what I call healthy churn. So at the beginning of your business, you may take $1 from anyone who's going to give you money. Like if someone's like, hey dude, I'll pay for your product, I have nothing to do with what it is that your product does, but someone's going to give you money, you'll take it. At one point though, your products and features are going to start becoming more specialized and more streamlined. And you're going to have what I call the healthy churn piece, where people who just weren't really supposed to be your customers to begin with realize that and they turn away and go to somebody else. It's not a bad thing, but just be able to predict it and just be aware that it's going to happen at one point. And the other one is ROI on your sales folks. So going back to the headcount piece, lots of people are under the assumption that if I hire more salespeople, I will get more sales. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It involves a lot more pressure and a lot more resources that are needed. And I'm actually going to read to you this great quote that my CRO used to say, so just bear with me. In a sense, it's very similar to cooking by hiring more salespeople. If a meal is being prepared for 4 people and 6 people need to be fed, the chef does not just add more of the main ingredient. The recipe must be reviewed and increased so the appropriate ingredients are added at the precise time and a specific ratio. Likewise, increasing revenue is not just as simple as adding a few sales reps. It requires an analysis of direct sales, inside sales, sales development reps, demand generation, and sales enablement, and more. So just keep in mind, think food when you think about hiring more salespeople. And then account management. So as you're growing, you're going to end up hiring probably an account management role. And what this account management does is they manage the existing customers you have. And they're also known as the quarterback. Because what they do is they take the customer from the time they've sold and booked the business, and they manage the transition to this customer success team. And your customer success team is the one that's actually responsible for onboarding, implementing the software, and getting them up and running. So you need someone that's going to quarterback through that and make sure that the customer is happy with what they have, what they are using it for is what they were told the product can do. And you also want to rate them at the end of it and just ask them, how was the experience? Was it a positive experience? Was it a painful experience? The account manager is responsible for just making the current customers happy and maintain and not turn away. So they'll reach out to them for things like beta customers. And do you want to be part of a beta program? Do you want to be part of a customer panel? Can you be a reference for us? And obviously, because they're account management, because they're in sales, they want to talk to them about upsell and cross-sell opportunities. So if a new product comes out, you want to be able to go back to your customer base and identify which one of those customers are suitable for this new feature and sell them more. If you can get existing customers that buy more and then net new customers that come in and buy from you, you're doing really well. And also, again, new partner opportunities. As you partner with third parties, you want to go back to your customer base and say, listen, we've expanded our product offering. We're partnering with PayPal, for instance, and we're able to provide you more, and that adds to the stickiness, because the more they have from you and your partners, the less likely they are to turn away. And then customer success and support. So there are plenty of support metrics out there, like average ticket time, ticket days to close the ticket. I'm going to focus on the operational ones, which are the number of support calls by top customers. Again, if you're using something like Zendesk, you're able to identify, and it's linked to your CRM, you are able to identify who your top customers are, and you want to make sure that everybody's aware when they call in. Recovery issues, learning how to do something that they should have been able, that the customer should have been trained on. This is an effective use of your support resources. Average number of days for onboarding, and average number of days between booking and initiating. So you want to be able to identify if customer buys from you today, and it takes 60 days for them to get started, and then it takes 3 months for them to be implemented. They've now wasted 5 months. They've invested the money on day one, and it's taken them 5 months to see the value of that money. If there's an opportunity, streamline the process, automate some of the process, or maybe you have to hire more resources. And again, support people should not shy away from talking to the customer about upsell, cross-sell, and new partner opportunities. They're not selling to them, they're not sales folks, these are existing customers, and you're identifying a need for them. And all you need to do on the support side is just ask a few questions, and then you can pass them over to the account manager to take it from there. So all through this presentation, I talked about data and reporting, because to me, it's a huge part of your infrastructure. Like, you need to be able to track your data. If you have no idea what's going on with your customer base, you're not going to be able to make smart decisions. So what a lot of companies do is they kind of cheap out and they'll spend a lot of money on proper infrastructure. You don't need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a really expensive CRM. You don't need to get Salesforce, but you need to be able to invest in some type of CRM, customer usage tool, and then if you have a SaaS product, link it to your billing system, marketing automation, your BI tools, just link it. Spend a little bit more money if you can to have it integrated. And why does this all matter? Well, because at the end of the day, at one point, you're going to have to ask yourself some questions, and you're going to have to put together a go-to-market strategy. So I was talking to a CEO. Company's only been around for about 4 years. They have 6 employees, but what they have is data. They've been tracking data since day one. So they've now gone and they've increased the features, they've upped their product, they've made it better, and they're going to change the price from a $29.99 a month product to an $89.99 a month product. And what because he has all the data, because he's been tracking it, he's able to go through his database and say, I know the customers that have been using the product. I know what customers have been using the features that we have now released, because they've called into support. I'm able to profile them on my database, and my account manager knows who they are and knows who the key contacts. So he can go through and call those customers, and he's told me he's had an 84% success rate on moving those customers from the $29.99 to the $89.99 price. And no one's churned because he's able to identify the value in those particular customers. And that's the whole point of this, is you want to be able to track this data, get a good sense of who's using your product, what their profile is, so you could target them with the right message. Another example is competition. You're always going to run into competition. So why? Like if your customers are churning away, get in front of it. Find out what the churn reason is. You should have it already. Find out your key customers who are using that particular feature that maybe your competitor is doing better. Take a look at how many support calls they're making. Do you have a partner that maybe if your product doesn't do it, maybe your partner does? Go back to those customers and talk to them again about the value prop you have. That helps you so much more in the long run, because you'll be able to identify what's going on before it actually happens to you, and you're not caught up 8 months later realizing I've lost some of my key customers. So that's all I really had. I do want to just mention that I summarized it, and at my last presentation, I got asked for some suggestions on marketing automation tools and on CRM tools. 2 really good websites to go to if you're looking for information on all the different types. I want to use things like Microsoft Dynamics, HubSpot, Salesforce, and SAP, but take a look at softwareadvice.com. It's a really good site. And the other one is Capterra.com to give you some information on different types of software tools. Okay.
Fantastic. With that being said, we'd like to open it up any Q&A. Does anybody have any questions for Samiksha right now?